This is Dr. Toby Capwell, curator, author, historical advisor, and all-round expert on historical arms and armor. And I'm your host, Dave Jewett, and today we're breaking down a selection of arms and armor from across a selection of video games, including Mount & Blade Bannerlord 2, one of its most ambitious mods, Bloodborne, and more.
So, I suppose I should ask the really obvious question. He's blind, or doesn't need to see, or what?
I mean, the player can see because the camera's above them. But yeah, as the individual, probably can't see much through this, or is looking.
Yeah, it's distinctive. I guess fighting monstrosities like this, maybe you don't really want to see too much of them.
The biggest change is now you've got a shield.
A shield is no bad thing. Has it got a chainsaw on it?
It's got a chainsaw on it.
Of course it does.
Well, without the advantage of the HUD that we saw in the original Bannerlord, where there's little circles above each head.
Right.
I saw in the footage, and this is from the developers, it felt as if they were attacking or attempting to swing at one of their allies because everything just got chaotic.
This is like the best thing I've ever seen.
There is a longer, deeper, extended edition of this episode over on our Patreon, so make sure you check the link in the description below for more of Dr. Capwell's musings. We've got more videos featuring Dr. Capwell to come, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on those. And down in the description, you'll also find a link to Toby's fantastic book, An Armourer's Album, which is now available. We hope you enjoyed this episode, but now without further ado, I'll throw it over to Toby.
This is Bloodborne. This is sort of a Victorian-esque setting. You play as a hunter, you're hunting beasts.
Sort of a highwayman, 18th century highwayman sort of aesthetic here. He's got a blunderbuss, pretty consistent with the highwayman image. Blunderbusses in the 18th century were often used for defending coaches against highwaymen, things like that. This also reminds me of the film Brotherhood of the Wolf, where he's got this big thing tied up around his face. Martial arts horror film from 20 years ago or something that used this aesthetic pretty heavily.
So the weaponry it's called a saw cleaver, and you can switch it between what's an axe mode and elongate it so it's in.
It's like
sword mode.
It's a giant shaving razor. It's a straight razor, basically, right?
A serrated, horrible straight razor. Yeah. But the serrations are, because you're hunting these beasts and blood is a big theme in Bloodborne, believe it or not, the serrations are designed to make your enemies bleed more.
Well, any blade will do that. But, I mean, historically, when you see a serrated blade, it's not because it makes you bleed more or cuts better. It's because a serrated blade, it looks cool and looks scary, and that's always an important aspect of a weapon. Historically, as well as in pop culture. But serrated blades are also, you can't really grab them. You know, with a garden variety sword, you can grab the blade and take it off of your opponent. As long as your hand doesn't slip on the blade, it won't cut you. But a serrated blade is a lot harder, if not impossible, to keep a good grip on. I guess if the skin of the monster is somehow harder or tougher, maybe there could be some advantage in having a serrated blade. I don't know.
This game's more focused on mobility. So we've talked about other Souls-likes before, Elden Ring, Dark Souls. There's more of an impetus to block or wear armor to tank damage, where at Bloodborne, there's more of a focus of dodging and dashing back into a fight. So you're meant to be a faster, more mobile.
Well, that makes sense. If you're fighting a 10-foot-tall ogre, wearing armor and taking hits is not going to help you. I'm reminded of one of the younger brothers of King Henry V, the Duke of Clarence, was famous. He famously attacked a group of Scots fighting in France at the Battle of Beaujeu, 1421, and the Scots were supposedly playing golf. At the time he attacked them, and they were so enraged that they fought back, with great vigor, and the Duke of Clarence, it said in the document, was beaten to death inside his armor. So there's some catastrophic concussive damage that any amount of armor can't protect you from. And I would suggest that when you're fighting monsters like this who can hit as hard as they can hit, you better not be there. And there's nothing really you can wear that's going to stop that. So he's correct to be light on his feet. He's still taking a pounding in his leather trench coat.
Yeah, you end every play session of Bloodborne very gory. So this set's called the Executioner's set.
Okay.
The only piece of actual sort of metal armor is this sort of bell-like helmet.
Yes.
And the weapon that we've accompanied it with that's part of this set it's inspired by the breaking wheel, like the old torture device.
Yeah. So I suppose I should ask the really obvious question. He's blind or doesn't need to see or what?
I mean, the player can see because the camera's above them. But yeah, as the individual probably can't see much through this, or is like looking.
Yeah, I mean, they're medieval war hats, and iron hats or, chapelle de fer or whatever. Those are basically metal hats that have a brim, and the brim can do a lot to protect you, but I mean, he can see his feet and that's about it. And it's a nice illustration, of course, of the limitations of armor design. Whenever you gain protection, you have a greater level of protection, you have to pay for it. You don't get more protection for free. You have to pay for it by sacrificing some mobility. You have to sacrifice some comfort and range of vision if you're protecting the face. So yeah, his facial protection is superb, but the sacrifices he's had to make to get it are probably impractical.
So keep in mind what we're doing and the helmet in this clip.
That's funny. That is funny. But that's something he could do in that helmet, because he needs to look down. He could do that. That's fine. Climbing down ladders you can do in this helmet, but that is funny.
So I've actually lied to you there. Unfortunately, the game doesn't make that sound when you slide down the ladder. The head movement's all there, but this has been edited. But
right.
It's such a perfect illustration
good.
of how that helmet interacts with the environment.
Executioners don't usually have to wear armor because, the person they're interacting with isn't going to fight back. I guess if you're cutting, I don't know what the method of execution is here, but if it's an executioner who has to cut someone's head off on a block, maybe his field of vision is appropriate. I don't know.
This line in the helmet description, this conical gold helmet, symbol of the executioners, represents luminosity, ambition, and an unflagging resolve to face impurity, staring it down with stern golden spirit. It's like forcing, if you imagine wearing that, it's forcing the person to really look down their nose at someone. I wonder if that's been some of the inspiration, is like blocking their vision to make sure they're like emitting a certain aura by looking down their nose that far at an enemy or another individual.
Yeah.
Because there's some like helmets and sort of ceremonial hats that encourage that head up.
Yeah.
Sort of look.
It's just, you gotta weigh the value of anything like that against the cost of wearing it, Is the cost worth it? That's what in any armor design, that's the key question. Whatever benefits I'm getting from that, is it worth paying? Yes or no? God, that's a pretty horrendous,
whatever it is.
Yeah.
You bash any beast hard enough with a giant wheel.
Yeah, the range isn't great though. It's not a great reach extension, is it, a wheel? It doesn't get you very much more towards your enemy. It's distinctive. I guess fighting monstrosities like this, maybe you don't really want to see too much of them.
Yeah, you can, throughout Bloodborne, you gain insight, and it's sort of like a representation of you seeing through the veil,
right,
all the hidden monsters in the world.
Right.
So yeah, maybe blocking your vision if you don't want to see something like that. There's a lot of blind motifs in Bloodborne, which is probably another reason for this armor.
Artistic motif.
If you want even more breakdowns featuring Dr. Capwell, then be sure to check out our Patreon. Our Patreon now includes over 61 extended Director's Cut episodes and even more Patreon exclusive content, as well as EXP Discord access. Becoming an EXP patron supports the channel, allows us to work with these wonderful experts, and lets us keep making cool content like this. But whether you join the Patreon or watch along here on YouTube, I want to say thank you for being part of EXP, and now I'll get back to the video.
So, Mount & Blade Bannerlord 2, 2022. We've talked about this game briefly before, not on camera. We're going to look at a specific faction called Vlandia. It's all historical inspired fantasy. This faction, all factions have different inspirations: Roman Greek, Mongolian, sort of Celtic. This one's very focused on medieval Western Europe.
Okay.
So it'll be an amalgamation of those designs. And the gameplay is you're commanding all of these various troops.
Oh. Yeah. Someone has obviously been looking at some, actual armor here. This is kind of the fantasy that I like more, where you start with something strongly historical or based in reality, and then you start stretching it out in different ways a little, but not too far, How far can you stretch it before the fantasy becomes impossible to believe? They've only stretched it a little bit here, so it still feels like a tangible world. I was thinking of making one of these full mail armors for a horse. That'd be a cool thing to see. A couple of people in the 13th century jousting and, living history community have made them, but they get heavy very quickly, and you have to be quite careful about how much weight you're putting on the horse. But
well, when you're equipping your own character, you equip everything from the helmet, chest, shoulder protection, all of that stuff. So the guy on the horse was my character, and I've tried to keep it as cohesive as possible. But you tell me if you feel like it's all sort of from the same era or the same part of the world.
Yeah, I wish the plate shoulders weren't there.
Those are the bits that I had the most self-doubt about.
You knew it was wrong.
Yeah, I felt something was wrong. That's like,
you knew it was wrong. No, it's like, no, there's so much mail and like other stuff going on here. The shoulder plates seem out of place, and they're awfully big on his arms.
So I think I might have. There's so many pieces of equipment in the game. I might have picked those shoulder plates from a different faction. Yeah. Which is why they so obviously visually clash. So actually, I did it on purpose to really highlight the clashing nature of
overall. I mean, there's quite a consistent 13th century look about this.
Yeah, all the units they sort of come as standard with the equipment. There's some variations depending on what type of unit there are, but they are very strict to the faction that they come from.
Is this an Eastern European developer?
Turkish. Well, based in Turkey. I mean, they'll have staff from all over the world, but yeah, it's based in Turkey.
It's a really nice variation of protective materials combined in some very plausible ways. Those like aventails, the mantles of plates, those are nice.
I try to have a good variety of infantry, from sort of heavy infantry, billmen, pikemen, some range units, cavalry.
Yeah, the cavalry look good. And whatever they're wearing, I like that they've got it fastened up around their neck and face. There's no open throats, there's no giant eye holes, it looks effective and practical. Decent movement of the horse, decent sense of the up and down, and transitions and gaits. I mean, we've talked about that, how hard it is to animate the horse in a game like this. That's always something I'm looking for. And also, he's got a lighter spear here. He's not using a heavy cavalry knightly lance. He's got what the English would call a demi-lance, or just a spear, medium cavalry, light cavalry spear. And with those, the stabbing action with the arm, both underarm and overarm, that's very much part of the use of them. So the way he's handling the spear is quite nice. Yeah, you could still couch it and charge your opponent if you needed to, but the spears of that type are meant to be used. You don't wear them on your back though, but what's with the wearing stuff on the back? Could we please?
That's the thing in video games. Either it disappears into the ether, into the pocket dimension, or it goes on your back or something like that. So it's either going nowhere or just finding a space on a body to put it.
Yeah.
So it's sort of perennial video game problem.
Right.
But you mentioned couching a lance.
Yeah.
Some of the lances in the game you can couch, and I think it's based on sort of how heavy they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
This one you can, so I'm either tucking it in under my arm or striking with it.
The precise weight and dimensions of the spear is really important. It's like in the Roman period and in the early Norman period around 1066 and the conquest, when the Norman cavalry are still fighting like Romans basically, they have a spear that's light enough that it can still be thrown like a javelin. And they also have things like called angons, which are throwing spears or javelins with barbed heads. But they're light enough to be able to throw them, but they're strong enough to be used in the hand as a thrusting weapon. They're not strong enough, though, to be used couched, because they just can't take that kind of impact. To be able to couch the lance, it needs to be heavier, longer, thicker. But then there's a balance between, is it heavy enough to be used as a couched lance, but light enough in the hand to still be used like that? That's another weight class in spears. And then the biggest, heaviest lances, when you've got resting gear on the breastplate, those are, you can still manipulate them to an extent, but again, you're moving into another weight class again.
So, do you remember years ago you mentioned there was a mod, a player-made mod that you thought they took some of your work as inspiration?
Yeah, there was some game.
Works?
Was it Bannerlord?
So
where they did a mod for the Wars of the Roses?
Yes,
yeah.
And that is what we're about to look at. De la Guerra. I reached out to the mod team because this mod isn't out yet, and they provided me with some footage. And when I said like what we were doing, they were like, "Oh yeah, we've used a bunch of his work for reference, quoting some
whose work?
Your work.
Oh really?
Use some of Toby's work.
Awesome.
So you might see some things that you will recognize.
I've seen a couple of stills from a very early Facebook post of what they're trying to do, but I've never seen anything beyond a couple of random images.
This should be exciting then, because all of this is never before seen. They were kind enough to capture some footage for this to show you. So
okay, good.
I had a brief look at it, and it's they're doing some very cool stuff. And so this is just a modification of the game you just saw. So it's within the limitations of that game.
Oh, right.
They're doing something new with it.
All right.
Yeah, they were very excited when I reached out on Discord.
Ooh.
That's a good sound.
Yeah. These this very distinctive Irish laminated armor. You see this depicted a lot on Irish and West Highland Scottish effigies. And actually, I was speaking at a martial arts symposium a few days ago where a guy had replicated one of these, this sort of laminated, segmented Irish armor. They're very distinctive, amazing.
They're taking that historical fantasy game and taking away the fantasy and bringing up the historical.
Look at how well the mail is represented. It's like how you can see where all the rows are joining at like 45-degree angles and the way it hangs. Yeah, it's amazing. Scottish Lowland armor. Wow, cool. I did write an article about that a few years ago. Superb.
And because Bannerlord is historic fiction, it's nice that players are able to use that engine that's embraced historical fiction and say, hey, what if we just went historic with it?
Wow, it looks amazing. The detail, I mean, even like little things, like you see how like with some of these sallets, the bever is just a little bit lower and then the front of the sallet comes up and there's that little bit of a gap there. Superb. West European. I call things West European when I don't know what they are, because you have a good possibility of being right there. Italianate French question mark. They might have gotten that from my book. I'm not above putting a question mark on something when I'm not sure. This is amazing. Amazing. Because when I write about stuff, I've got the original depictions, the original sculpture or drawing or whatever, And then I have to kind of reconstruct it in my imagination, or I get my illustrator to do a sketch of it, but I don't get to see it like this.
And a lot of this is still work in progress as well. Like I said, they've not released the mod yet.
Yeah, King has gilded armor. There it is. You know he's the king.
And compared to the original Bannerlord, I like that there's more variation in color with your troops. They still feel cohesive.
Oh, sure.
But, you know, there's people wearing just plain.
Yeah.
There's people in
that's
red,
reality.
blue, white.
You have to find a way of marking them all in some way or other as your guys mostly, but you know, you're never going to have a uniform and they're never all going to be wearing the same color.
Well, without the advantage of the HUD that we saw in the original Bannerlord, where there's sort of circles above each head.
Right.
I saw in the footage, and this is from the developers,
Yeah.
it felt as if they were attacking or
Yeah.
attempting to swing at one of their allies because
Yeah.
everything just got chaotic.
This is like the best thing I've ever seen. It's astoundingly good.
They're going to love hearing that.
And they're just waiting. You know, they can't do anything. Defenders can't do anything. You got to wait until there's a hole in your door. You know, in a film, you might have people running up and screaming and yelling and putting their hands on the door trying to stop. But in reality, you just wait until you've got something to fight.
Watching the footage, I immediately don't know who's on what team.
Right. But that's good. Oh, the rain. Yeah. Look at that. I love, you got the points along the horse armor, holding the different pieces of the horse armor together. Very nice. Nice movement.
I think that's why they've done more with the flags in this mod.
You have to. That's in reality. That's what you've got to work with.
Because the original game doesn't do that quite as much. Whereas just watching the footage, I can get a sense of how important those flags are to know who's who. And especially within War of the Roses, I imagine a lot of the equipment is just, it's going to blend together because it's within.
It does. Well, they're
the
fighting
same
each
country.
other. I mean, it's English versus English. They all getting their gear from the same places. They've all been trained in the same way. You know, many in the early part of the Wars of the Roses, many of the participants were on the same side fighting in France before they're on different sides fighting each other. Yeah, it's confusing and hard to tell who's who. And it actually, the Wars of the Roses, I think, really generated a new phase in the military science that the English were dealing with, because they couldn't just use their old tricks anymore. Fighting each other, they've got to get creative. They've got to fight on horseback more. They've got to use traps, the siege warfare, urban warfare. The fighting during the Wars of the Roses got very diverse, in part because the English are fighting themselves. Your enemy knows your whole philosophy and is organized in the same way. So you have to evolve very quickly as a rider. And some riderless horses wandering around, that's nice. Superb, just gorgeous.
They've done a great job. Like some of the footage they put out around sieges just looked great.
I mean, you can see the value of supporting something like this if it's crowdfunded or whatever. I mean, it's all there. One thing that you can really see here that they've done really nicely too is how the landscape affects your awareness. There can be a whole army on the other side of that rise and you won't know it's there. And you won't even hear it because the land can mask sound as well until they're right on top of you. If they still have time to tweak this, if I can comment constructively.
When I spoke to them, they specifically asked for constructive feedback. So
the one thing I'd really like to see adjusted, and hopefully it's an easy adjustment, I'd like to see the riders with straighter legs. They've got their stirrups are short and they've got very bent legs, more like a modern horseman who's racing or jumping or something, where you need to rise out of the saddle so you have short stirrups and a bent leg. I'd like to see a longer extended leg on these guys, because in a medieval elevated saddle, your leg tends to be straighter and longer, and I'd just like to get away from that bent leg look. If it's an easy thing to change, I'm just trying to be helpful. I mean, it's a minor point given the achievement here.
Now, like I said, the mod is still work in progress, so I'm sure they appreciate all feedback.
And while you're on the subject of horses, I'd like to see the horses with a slightly more collected head. So the neck isn't extended out with the nose pointing out. You bring the whole head in and the horse has got his head down and the neck is You got a nice crested shape to it. If that's possible, that would be nice to have as well. But, I mean, they're already like a gazillion miles ahead of the game here. That's really amazing to see that. See? Isn't that good?
It's great.
All right.
Means more when you say it, though. Well, I think it's cool as hell.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to show this to you.
Just fantastic looking.
So you're familiar with the game Doom, I assume?
I am. I think the very first iteration of Doom came out when I was a teenager in the 80s, late 80s, must have been. And my friend Andric had God, what computer must that have been running on? Who knows, Commodore 128 or something? I don't know. But I played it. I remember playing it. I remember when it was the whole idea of a first-person shooter was like totally new, to us at least, probably to everybody else. I remember that. And that's really the only experience of Doom that I have.
Well, jumping forward to 2025 and the release of Doom: The Dark Ages, we've gone from the OG Doom to now it's a sort of super sci-fi, super brutal Doom-esque aesthetic and setting, but it's taking some historical inspirations. It's set further back in the Doom timeline, so it's taking the idea of what a dark age might look like in the Doom universe.
Right.
And that does play into some of the weapon inspirations, armor inspirations, all of that good stuff.
They want to keep everything they like about Doom, rocket launchers and so forth, but they want it to seem
it's a new way
in
to
the past
give
somehow.
people a Doom experience.
Right.
But obviously you've still got your super shotgun, still got plasma guns, rocket
of
launchers.
course.
The biggest change is now you've got a shield.
Uh-huh. A shield is no bad thing. Has it got a chainsaw on it?
It's got a chainsaw on it.
Of course it does.
And it's got the sort of Captain America-esque return to sender.
Oh yeah, that's
So
handy.
You can throw it out, chop
Sort
demons
of
in half, whoopang, back to your arm.
Boomerang return thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see some of the typical Viking Age, early medieval tropes there with the furs and the spikes. It's all pretty typical. It's kind of always interesting to see what designers do when they take what they think is medieval, or they take what they think reads as medieval, and combine it with something more high-tech. How do those things fit together? It's kind of an interesting problem. The chainsaw runs around the rim of the shield. That seems horribly dangerous. Yeah, how does he not hurt himself with that?
It's just if that risk reward is, it might be a little dangerous to me, but if it's really dangerous against the demons, let's run it.
I think the risk of self-harm is too great in this case. But I won't deny it's pretty fun to look at. Oh yes, the old flail. Gotta have a flail, right?
But one of the key differences between this Doom and a lot of other more recent Doom games is that the game encourages you to get as close to your enemy as possible, which is why it's included things like the shield and being able to use a shotgun on your offhand and including melee weapons. So previous Dooms, you fought more at range. This Doom, you're using your shield to close the gap and get in every enemy's face as much as possible.
Well, originally, with the original Doom, it was the concept of the first-person shooter. When that was that's the shooting and the ranged weapons were the thing. And I remember as a kid, the satisfying thing about Doom was that sense of the ranged weapon and its effects. And maybe the technology wasn't there to create a close combat of any kind, really.
I don't think anyone who played the original Doom on release thought that one day you'd be riding a giant helmeted jet propulsion dragon. Or maybe they did.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're well within their rights to be calling this a Dark Ages because, I mean, there's no reference to the Middle Ages here at all. This is a totally different kind of mythic concept. So I don't have a problem with them referring to that at all. I don't know how historical it feels. It still looks pretty high-tech to me. But underneath it all, there is still this concept of a human made into something more than human by advanced technology that is worn on the body and augments the physical capabilities of the body. And that's a very medieval idea. I mean, that's what Armour on a conceptual level is all about. Proving that this person is something more than human, that has powers that an ordinary human doesn't have. Now, in the 15th century, that was the full plate armor, and here it's the giant mech vehicle or whatever. But there's some underlying ideas here. You just got to dig a little deeper to see them, I guess. In my pedantic way, I'm still worried about his exposed neck. He's got a wonderfully exposed, fleshy neck under there. I mean, the biceps I understand, and that's not going to kill him if he gets hurt in his bicep necessarily. But I'm still worried about his throat. That's the level that I work on. You're going to have to talk to someone else about the Gatling guns. I'm just worried about his esophagus.
Yes, it's like someone's taken a heavy metal album cover and turned it into a video game.
Right.
And I love it for that.
But which band? That's the question. Whose album covers are we talking about here? Nominations in the comments.
There we have the selection of video games for today.
All right. Well, we've seen some pretty far out stuff, but I think we've also demonstrated the importance of understanding the realities of things before you move into the realm of fantasy or science fiction. That anything you create will be better if you understand the historical and real world underpinnings.
Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Like the video if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more content like this. And make sure you check out Toby's new book and Armour's album. Link to pick that up will be in the description. As always, a massive shout out to all of the supporters over on the EXP Patreon for supporting the channel and for allowing us to make cool content like this. We've got more videos featuring Toby to come very soon, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on those. And be sure to leave us a comment telling us what episodes you'd like to see in the future. Until next episode, thank you again for watching, and we will see you very soon.